In a small, struggling town in rural Africa, the society is deeply rooted in tradition. Social status is everything, and the pressure to conform is immense. The story begins with Soai, a beautiful, intelligent, and strong-willed young woman in her mid-20s. Despite her family's traditional values, Soai is not like the other women in her village. She is independent and has always yearned for a life beyond what her family expects of her. Her mother, in particular, is obsessed with wealth and social standing. To her, Soai's future is determined by who she marries, and she insists that Soai wed a rich man to secure their family's status and comfort. The family arranges for Soai to marry Kwame, a wealthy businessman in the village who is well known for his riches. But Soai's heart belongs to someone else, Bajana Lewanai, a humble poor farmer who works the land tirelessly. Though Bajana is kind, intelligent, and hard-working, his lack of wealth makes him an unacceptable choice in her mother's eyes. Despite Soai's deep love for Bajana, she feels the weight of her family's expectations pressing down on her. Her mother, with her constant reminders of how a wealthy marriage would elevate their status, keeps pushing her toward a life with Kwame. In the midst of this pressure, Soai's inner turmoil grows. She secretly meets with Bajana, where they dream of a life together, free from the constraints of societal expectations. Bajana reassures her that he will find a way to be with her, even if it means waiting for the right moment to make their dreams a reality. But despite their love, Soai's fears of disappointing her family and the consequences of defying their wishes ultimately force her to marry Kwame. The ceremony is grand, but Soai's heart is heavy with regret. Kwame is kind, but distant, focusing more on maintaining appearances and expanding his wealth than truly understanding Soai or the kind of life she wants. As the days pass, Soai's discontent grows. She is forced to confront the reality of her situation, trapped in a marriage with a man she barely knows, to fulfill her family's demands. And while she tries to convince herself that she made the right choice, the memory of Bahana and the life they dreamed of together never leaves her. The pressure from Soai's family is relentless. Her mother, in particular, is obsessed with the idea of securing Soai's future by marrying her to a man of wealth and status. Kwame, the wealthy businessman, is a perfect match in their eyes. He's well known in the village for his riches and his connections, and everyone believes that Soai's future will be comfortable and secure with him. The idea of being married to someone as powerful as Kwame is seen as a blessing by her family, and they constantly remind her of the benefits it will bring. But Soai's heart is not with Kwame. Her heart belongs to Bajana Lewanai, the humble farmer who works hard every day, tending to the land, dreaming of a better life. She knows Bajana is not the choice her family would approve of. His lack of wealth makes him an impossible match in their eyes. Yet, despite this, Soai and Bajana share a love that cannot be denied. In secret, they meet whenever they can, sneaking away at night to hold on to the love they have. Their meetings are filled with promises of a future together, away from the pressure of family and society. Bahana, though devastated by the situation, reassures Soai that one day they will be together. He tells her to be patient, to trust that the right time will come. But Soai feels trapped. She knows her family won't allow her to marry Bajana, and the idea of defying them is unbearable. As the days go by, the pressure intensifies. Soai's struggle grows, torn between the love she feels for Bajana and the obligation to her family and their expectations. In the end, she feels she has no choice but to comply with their wishes. The thought of betraying her family, of standing up for her own happiness at the cost of their approval, seems impossible. On the day of the wedding, Soai wears a beautiful gown, but her heart is heavy. The lavish ceremony is everything her family wanted, and the guests are all smiles, admiring the union between her and Kwame. Yet as she stands at the altar with Kwame by her side, Soai feels disconnected, as if she's floating in a dream unable to shake the image of Bajana from her mind. Kwame is kind to her, but distant. He's more concerned with appearances than with truly knowing her. He's a man obsessed with status and wealth, and to him, this marriage is just another step in his journey to greater power. Soai, however, has no illusions. She knows this marriage is not about love. It's about security, about power, and about fulfilling the expectations of her family. Though she wears the smile of a bride, her heart aches with the thought of the life she could have had and the love she left behind. The ceremony ends, and the lavish celebrations follow, but Soai's mind is elsewhere. Her body is present, but her soul is not. And as the days pass, the reality of her marriage to Kwame becomes clearer. She is living a life dictated by others, and the dream she once shared with Bajana seems further away with each passing day. On the night of their wedding, Soai expects the moment to be filled with passion and excitement, the beginning of a new chapter in her life. But instead, she is met with cold indifference. Kwame is distant, withdrawn, and doesn't seem interested in the union they've just entered into. Soai tries to approach him, eager to share in the joy and intimacy she thought would come naturally. But Kwame brushes her off with a vague excuse. He claims he's tired, that the day's events have drained him. Soai, confused and disappointed, wonders what has changed. As the days turn into weeks, Soai begins to notice more oddities in Kwame's behavior. He continues to be distant and uninterested, not only in her, but also in the day-to-day affairs of their marriage. Kwame spends long hours away from the house, often disappearing without explanation. His actions are erratic, and his mood swings are unsettling. One minute, he's calm, and the next, he's snapping at her for no apparent reason. Soai tries to reach out to him, to understand what is going on, but he remains elusive, providing only vague answers. Something doesn't feel right, and Soai's growing unease pushes her to investigate further. One evening, while she's cleaning the room they share, she stumbles upon an old, worn letter hidden beneath a pile of papers in Kwame's belongings. The letter is addressed to him from someone named Akosua. The handwriting is elegant and familiar, but it's the contents of the letter that will change everything Soai thought she knew about her husband. The letter reveals a side of Kwame that Soai never imagined. It speaks of a tragic past, one that Kwame has gone to great lengths to keep hidden. According to the letter, Kwame's wealth was not earned through hard work or business savvy, as he had always claimed. Instead, it was built on dangerous, illegal activities. Kwame had been involved in a smuggling ring, using his connections to traffic goods under the radar, amassing wealth through criminal means. The wealth he had flaunted and used to win Soai's heart was stained with the blood of countless victims, and his success was the result of greed and violence. But what really shocks Soai is the revelation that Kwame had never been poor. The man who had presented himself as a humble, struggling businessman was nothing of the sort. In truth, he had once been incredibly wealthy, but he had to fake his poverty to avoid the wrath of a dangerous enemy. A rival smuggler had threatened his life and the lives of those he cared about. To survive, Kwame had staged his financial ruin and adopted the persona of a poor man, all to protect himself from the vengeful forces that were hunting him. As Soai reads the letter, she feels a deep sense of betrayal. Everything she thought she knew about Kwame, the man she married, the man she had been told to trust, was a lie. His wealth, his kindness, and even his character had been built on a foundation of deception. The reality of his past is darker than she could have ever imagined, and the man standing beside her now is not the one she thought he was. As Soai sits alone in the dim light of their home, reeling from the shocking truth she has just uncovered about her husband, she is torn between disbelief and a deep sense of betrayal. The man she married, the man her family had praised, is not the man she thought he was. Her mind races with the implications of his dark past, the lies he had told, and the years she had spent believing in a false narrative. Just as she grapples with this overwhelming truth, an unexpected figure returns to the village, Bahana Lewani. Bahana, once the poor farmer she had secretly loved, is no longer the man she remembers. He is now a successful businessman with a company of his own, and an air of confidence that stands in stark contrast to the humble man she once knew. His return is like a breath of fresh air to Soai, but it is also a shock. How did Bajana, who had once struggled alongside her in the fields, become so successful? And why had he stayed away for so long? As Bajana approaches Soai, he sees the turmoil in her eyes, the same pain and confusion he had feared when he decided to leave her all those months ago. He knows that she has uncovered the truth about Kwame, and he understands the weight of the situation she now faces. With a calm but firm voice, Bahana reveals the truth that he had kept hidden for so long. He had always known about Kwame's dark past. Bahana had heard whispers in the village, and his own investigations had led him to the same conclusion that Soai had just discovered. Kwame's wealth, his success, his whole persona, everything was built on lies and deceit. But more than that, Bajana admits why he had distanced himself from Soai all those months ago. He could not bear to see her fall into the trap of a life built on corruption and betrayal. He loved her deeply, but he knew that if he had stayed, he would have only been pulling her further into Kwame's web. The man she had married was a dangerous man, and Bajana had made the painful decision to leave so that she could see the truth for herself. He couldn't save her from the lies, but he could give her the space to discover them on her own. Now, with the truth laid bare before them, Bajana offers Soai the chance she never thought she'd have. He confesses his love for her, telling her that he has never stopped loving her, even when he was miles away. The connection they shared was something that had always remained in his heart, and he has spent the months apart building a life that is honest, genuine, and free from the toxic wealth and lies that Kwame represents. Bajana promises Soai a future filled with love, truth, and prosperity, not the hollow promises of a man who built his empire on stolen wealth, but the kind of life that is earned with hard work, trust, and mutual respect. Bahana's offer is simple yet profound. Leave Kwame, leave the life of deception and materialism behind, and join him in a future where love and honesty are the foundation. Bahana promises her a life where their dreams of happiness are no longer constrained by the false promises of wealth and social standing. He believes they can build something real together, something far more valuable than anything Kwame could ever offer. Soai stands before him, torn. Her heart aches with the memory of her love for Bajana, a love that she thought was lost forever. But she knows deep down that the life she had with Kwame was never truly hers. It was a life constructed from illusions, from expectations she never truly wanted to fulfill. Now, standing in front of Bahana, she feels the possibility of something different, a future that might be difficult, but one that is true and real. Soai's heart is heavy with the weight of the decision she faces. Every part of her is torn between the two men in her life, Kwame, her husband, and Bajana, the man she has always loved. The betrayal of Kwame stings deeply, and yet she can't shake the sense of guilt that gnaws at her. He is still her husband, and no matter the lies or the dark past, he hasn't physically harmed her. In many ways, Kwame has been kind to her, offering her comfort and material security. But that's the problem, isn't it? His kindness was built on deceit, and the life he gave her was a lie, one that no longer holds any meaning now that the truth is revealed. On the other hand, Bahana's love for her has always been pure, real, and steadfast. From the very beginning, Bahana had been nothing but honest, humble, and deeply caring. Their love was not based on money or status, but on mutual respect and a shared vision for a simple, honest life. But Bahana's life was once marked by hardship and poverty. Could she really ask him to give that up for a life with her? Could she bring herself to leave the security and comfort that Kwame provides, even if it is built on lies? The conflict rages inside Soai as she spends more time with Bajana, revisiting the places they used to go together, talking late into the night about the future they once dreamed of. She feels an undeniable pull toward him, a longing for a life rooted in love and truth. But the guilt of leaving Kwame, even after everything she's learned, still lingers in her heart. But then, a shocking revelation shakes Soai to her core. As she grows closer to Bahana, he shares more of what he knows about Kwame's true nature, painting a darker picture of the man she married. It's not just that Kwame has a criminal past. He has been planning something far more sinister. Bahana's connections in the village, along with his own investigation, have revealed that Kwame's rise to power has been built on manipulation, control, and a series of ruthless tactics. Kwame, with all his wealth and influence, has been using his position to control the local leaders, exploiting his resources to turn the village's people against one another. His actions have been carefully calculated, using fear and deceit to manipulate those around him. But now, it appears that Kwame's plans are about to take a more dangerous turn. He is expanding his reach, plotting to take full control of the village in a way that would hurt its people, all for the sake of his own power. His wealth is no longer just about status, it is a means of domination, and he is willing to destroy anyone who stands in his way. Bajana's voice is filled with urgency as he explains what he has uncovered. Kwame plans to use his influence to force local leaders into signing over valuable land that belongs to the villagers and holds immense cultural significance. If Kwame's plan succeeds, it would leave the people of the village destitute, with no way to reclaim what was taken from them. The very future of the village and its people is at risk, and Kwame is the orchestrator of it all. As Soai absorbs this new information, her world tilts. The man she thought she knew, the man she married, is a dangerous, power-hungry individual who has no regard for the people who helped him rise to the top. The man who presented himself as her savior, her protector, is now revealed to be a threat not just to her, but to everyone she cares about. In that moment, the decision becomes clear. Soai can no longer ignore the truth. Kwame is not just a man she has been deceived by. He is a monster who is willing to destroy her home and its people to satisfy his own greed. Bajana, on the other hand, has never wavered in his commitment to truth and love. He has been the constant, the honest man who never tried to deceive her or manipulate her into a life she didn't want. Soai knows what she must do. The tension between Soai and Kwame is palpable as she confronts him, her heart heavy with the weight of everything she's learned. She stands before him, determined yet vulnerable, knowing this conversation will change the course of her life forever. The man she had once trusted, the man she thought was her protector, is now exposed for the liar and manipulator he truly is. She feels a strange mixture of anger, betrayal, and sorrow as she faces him, her once husband. Kwame's expression shifts as he sees the determination in Soai's eyes. For a moment, there is no pretension, no mask of the wealthy businessman. He's a man caught in the web of his own lies, and he knows it. He doesn't try to deny the truth. Instead, he admits to his crimes, speaking in a low, resigned voice. His words drip with self-justification as he explains how everything he did was for her, for their future, for the life they could have together. His eyes are pleading as he tells her that he loves her, that he would do anything to keep her by his side, even if it means continuing his dark dealings. "I did it all for us, Soai," he says, his voice raw with emotion. "I did everything to build a future where we could be happy, where you wouldn't have to struggle like I did. You think I'm a monster, but I'm doing this for you. All of it, every decision, every sacrifice, was to give you the life you deserve. Don't you see that?" Soai stands firm, though the weight of his words momentarily falters her. She can't deny that there was a time when she thought Kwame was the answer to all her problems, the man who could give her a life of comfort and security. But the truth, now so glaringly obvious, is that his love has always been tainted by his greed, his willingness to use others to get what he wants. She knows now that he never cared about her dreams or her happiness. He only cared about maintaining his control, his wealth, and his power. "Kwame," she says, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You didn't do this for me. You did this for yourself. You wanted to keep me trapped in a life that wasn't mine, in a world built on lies and bloodshed. You don't love me. You love the power you think you can hold over me." Kwame's face hardens as he tries to assert himself, his voice rising with frustration. "You think you can walk away from all this, from everything I've built? You'll be nothing without me. I made you who you are. I gave you everything you have. You owe me, Soai." But just as his words begin to sink in, as if to seal her fate, a strong, calm voice breaks through the tension. "You don't own her, Kwame, and you never did." Bajana Lewane steps into the room, his presence filling the space with quiet authority. He looks at Soai, his eyes full of reassurance, and then turns to Kwame, his expression cold and unwavering. Kwame's face twists with anger at the sight of Bajana, but Bajana remains unfazed. "I've already exposed your criminal activities to the authorities," Bajana continues, his voice steady. "Your wealth is built on lies, and the consequences are coming for you. You can't run from the truth anymore, Kwame." Kwame's face pales as he realizes the gravity of what Bajana is saying. The realization hits him like a ton of bricks. His empire, everything he worked for, is about to crumble. His wealth, his power, his entire life built on deception, is slipping away from him. "No, you can't do this," Kwame protests, but there is no conviction in his voice now. The certainty he once carried, the arrogance that defined him, is gone. Bajana steps forward, his eyes locked onto Kwame's with quiet strength. "It's done. The authorities are already on their way. Your empire is crumbling, and no amount of lies or manipulation will save you. You'll face the consequences of your actions just as you should." Soai watches in silence as the confrontation unfolds. She feels a strange sense of liberation, as if the weight of the past is being lifted off her shoulders. Bajana's intervention has freed her not just from Kwame's grasp, but from the false life she had been living. He has not only protected her from Kwame's deceit, but has also offered her something far more valuable: freedom, and the chance to live a life built on truth. "Bajana," she whispers, her voice filled with gratitude. She steps toward him, feeling the weight of his love and protection around her. "Thank you." Bajana looks at her, a soft smile crossing his face. "I've always been here for you, Soai, and I always will be. No more lies, no more deceit, just the truth." As Kwame's world begins to unravel, Soai and Bajana step away from the wreckage of the life they once knew, toward a new beginning. The final confrontation has not only broken the chains that bound her to Kwame, but it has also opened the door to a future filled with honesty, love, and hope. As the dust settles and the echoes of the final confrontation fade into the past, Soai stands at a crossroads, her heart heavy but resolute. The decision that once seemed impossible is now crystal clear. She knows that she can no longer live in a world built on lies, manipulation, and fear. The choice before her is not just about leaving Kwame, but about reclaiming her own life, her own future. The wealth she once sought, so alluring and so intoxicating, is no longer the thing she desires. The comfort and status that came with her marriage to Kwame now seem hollow, meaningless. Soai looks at Bajana Lewane, standing beside her like a beacon of strength and honesty. The love that had once been hidden, buried under the expectations of her family and society, now shines brightly in her heart. With Bajana, there is no pretense, no deceit. There is only the truth of who they are and the life they can build together. The realization strikes her with a sudden clarity. True wealth is not measured by material possessions or societal approval, but by the bonds of love, trust, and freedom. These are the things that have been missing from her life, and now, with Bahana by her side, she feels richer than she ever has before. "I'm leaving him, Bahana," Soai says softly, her voice filled with determination. "I can't stay in a life built on lies. I want something real. I want to build a future with you." Bahana's eyes soften as he takes her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "We'll rebuild, Soai. Together, we'll rebuild not just our lives, but the lives of the people who've been hurt by Kwame's greed. The village is ours to heal." With those words, Soai feels a weight lift from her shoulders. The decision has been made. She is free. She is no longer bound by the expectations of a society that values wealth over integrity. She is no longer shackled by a marriage that was never meant to be. She is free to live her truth, to build a life on her own terms, with the man who has always loved her for who she truly is. But the journey ahead will not be easy. The village, still reeling from Kwame's manipulations, will take time to heal. There will be obstacles, struggles, and resistance. The corrupt systems Kwame put in place will not disappear overnight. Yet Soai and Bajana know that they are ready to face whatever comes their way. Together, they have already overcome the greatest obstacle, facing the truth and choosing to live by it. As they begin their work, the villagers, who had once been divided and fearful, begin to rally around them. The people who had been exploited by Kwame's wealth and deceit now see in Bajana and Soai a new hope, a new future. The power of honesty, love, and unity starts to take root as Bajana and Soai work alongside the villagers to reclaim the land and resources that Kwame had stolen from them. Though the challenges are many, Soai and Bajana find strength in their shared purpose. Each day brings new obstacles, but also new triumphs. They rebuild homes, restore relationships, and slowly begin to erase the scars left by Kwame's greed. The love they share becomes a symbol of resilience, of hope that even in the darkest of times, light can still shine through. As the story reaches its conclusion, Soai and Bajana stand together at the edge of the village, looking out at the work they've begun. The sun sets on the horizon, casting a warm, golden light over the land they are rebuilding, both physically and emotionally. The future is uncertain, but they are not afraid. With each other, they know they can face anything. The village, once broken and divided, now begins to heal, its people united by the promise of a better tomorrow. Soai turns to Bahana, her heart full of gratitude and love. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" she asks, her voice soft but confident. Bahana smiles, his eyes filled with warmth. "And we still have a long way to go, but as long as we're together, there's nothing we can't do." And so their story begins anew, one of love, honesty, and the strength to rebuild a life worth living. Together, they face the future, not with fear, but with hope. Their love, once tested by lies and betrayal, now stands as the foundation of something stronger and more enduring than they ever could have imagined. The story emphasizes the importance of choosing authenticity over material wealth. It warns against the dangers of prioritizing money and status at the cost of personal integrity and love. Soai's journey teaches that true happiness isn't found in the wealth or power someone possesses, but in genuine relationships built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. The tale reminds us that no amount of material gain can replace the value of love and authenticity, and that happiness comes from living a life true to oneself, free from deceit and false promises.